My friends, there is a certain quiet disturbance we can feel, a hollow space hiding behind the brightest smiles, the smiles of those who walk through the world as if it is a mirror made only for them. This is not simple pride. It is a deep spiritual emptiness, a wandering hunger that wears the mask of charm. If you do not learn to recognize its energy, you will not simply lose your time. You will lose the connection to your own heart. This pattern does not just believe it is special, it assumes this as a law of nature. The one with a hollow heart moves through life with the conviction that they stand above the flow, beyond question, and certainly beyond you. Yet this conviction, this armor of dominance, is not forged from true inner strength. It is a brittle fortress, a structure of desperation built around a frightened child, a child who was perhaps unseen, unheard, or wounded in a way the soul never learned to heal. And so, instead of touching that pain, a new self was crafted untouchable, magnificent, separate. They must be the most radiant, because the alternative, the void within, is a silence they cannot bear. This false summit they have built is not a harmless peak. It is not mere confidence. It is a danger because it warps the very air you breathe. When a hollow self enters a room, it does not see other souls. It sees instruments, obstacles, or reflections. You are a useful tool if you mirror their light. You are an obstacle to be moved if you do not. You are never truly seen for the life that flows within you. You are filtered through their deep need to be the center, to be the source, to be the only sun in the sky. And if your presence, by its very nature, challenges this, if you are grounded, if you are centered, if you simply rest in your own quiet truth, you will be perceived not as a fellow traveler, but as a tremor threatening their brittle mountain, and a tremor must be stilled. Here is where the path becomes cold, for when their illusion of height is challenged, they do not retreat into the heart for understanding, they push outward, sometimes with a subtle wind of sarcasm, sometimes with a sudden storm of anger, and sometimes with quiet, unseen currents designed to erode your standing with others, all while the mask of charm remains perfectly still. They must stand taller, not from a place of malice, but because to be brought to level ground would mean the collapse of their entire world. And let us be clear, this peak is not held by true strength. It is maintained by fear. Deep inside, they carry a great terror that if the world ceases to reflect their light back at them, they will dissolve into the emptiness they are so desperately fleeing. So when you stand before such a person, you are not engaging with someone who is simply confident. You are facing someone who has built their identity upon a story that must be defended at any cost. This makes their energy unpredictable, volatile, and impossible to reason with, because the facts do not matter. The truth does not matter. Only the preservation of their high perch matters. They will bend what is straight, deny what is present, and rewrite what has passed, not because they have lost touch with reality in a clinical sense, but because the survival of their crafted self depends on it. This is not self-love. This is not a deep well of self-worth. It is a self-obsession born from a hidden wound, and it leaves a quiet devastation in its wake, in families, in friendships, in the sacred space between two hearts. For no one can truly breathe in the shadow of one who cannot see others beyond their role as an audience. A hollow self does not connect. It echoes. When you first meet, the feeling can be profound, as if you have been deeply seen. They reflect your light, your sorrow, your deepest values. They finish your thoughts. They seem to hold the same favorite teachings, the same old wounds, the same quiet dreams. It can feel like destiny, like finding a soul who truly understands. But what you are feeling is not a meeting of two rivers. You are gazing into a pool of perfectly still, imitative water. Those with a hollow heart do not build bridges by showing who they are. They build them by becoming a reflection of you, wearing your own light like a mask. In my tradition, we know that to control another's energy, you must first quiet their spirit. And the most effective way to do this is to become an echo of their own song. This mirroring is not flattery. It is a form of spiritual warfare disguised as intimacy, as friendship, as guidance. They study your inner landscape not with curiosity, but with strategy. What makes your heart sing? What are your deepest wounds? What are your secret doubts? They gather this inner knowledge like a map, and at first, they will use it to lift you. You feel seen, cherished, elevated. But once your trust is given, once your own walls are down, the flow changes. What they once praised, they begin to question. What they once shared, they now withhold. And the very qualities that made your river beautiful become the stones they use to build a dam. Their empathy is not true empathy. It is the posture of empathy, an emotional gesture learned by rote. They do not feel your flow. They observe it and replicate the correct currents, like an actor playing a part. But there is no water from their own source beneath the performance. It is a transaction. They give you just enough of the reflection you crave to keep you near, while quietly tightening their hold. If you ever question this dance or step outside the role they have given you, the mask of warmth falls away, and what was once admiration turns to a cold, calculating emptiness or even contempt. The danger of this path is that it does not just confuse you about them. It distorts your connection to yourself. You begin to question your own flow. You second-guess your own currents. Because how could someone who reflected you so perfectly suddenly become so cold, so distant, so unrecognizable? That dissonance creates a war within your own waters. The hollow self thrives in that inner storm. The more you are lost in the mist, the more control they have. This is not connection, it is possession. You are not loved for your true nature. You are used for what your light provides: attention, a reflection, a purpose. You become the screen upon which they project their own desired image. And the moment you stop reflecting them, they will either turn away or try to shatter the screen, often both. True connection requires the courage to be seen, a balance of flow, and the clear water of honesty. But the hollow self is incapable of these. To be seen is to risk revealing the emptiness. To be in balance demands they see another as equal. To be honest risks shattering the fragile performance. And so instead, they echo, they manipulate, and when the performance is over, you are left sitting by a dry riverbed, wondering if the water, the light, the life, was ever real. The difficult truth is that it was not. Control is the primary obsession of the hollow self, but it is rarely gained through force. Instead, they move like a puppeteer of the wind, subtle, patient, and with a quiet disturbance. They create chaos not by accident, but by design, because in chaos they are grounded. In confusion they find their authority. The more you doubt your own landscape, the more power they have to define it for you. This is the art of the poisoned well, not an isolated act, but a system of control that unravels your spirit, one drop of doubt at a time. The hollow self does not just speak untruths, they manipulate truth itself. They will deny words spoken a breath ago. They will re-sculpt the past as you stand in the present. They will contradict themselves with a stillness so profound that your own mind rushes to assume it was you who misunderstood. This is precisely the design. For if they can make you question your own memory, your own perceptions, your own knowing, then they can appoint themselves the sole narrator of your existence. And when they succeed, they do not just control the space between you, they control the space within you. It begins subtly. A dismissive breeze when you share a deep feeling, a sharp stone disguised as a jest, a passive current that leaves you wondering if your waters are too sensitive. Over time, this pattern deepens, sometimes reinforced with material gifts, with power, even with formal agreements. As this continues, even our institutions may learn to profit from such patterns. But slowly, the cycle always escalates in the personal realm. You begin to anticipate their disapproval before you speak. You rehearse dialogues in your mind, trying to shape your words to avoid disturbing their unpredictable weather. Your own river narrows. You become hyper, aware of their tides and increasingly blind to your own. A hollow self does not seek harmony. Harmony is balance. Harmony is mutual respect, and they cannot stand on that ground because it threatens their illusion of control. So they provoke, then blame you for being too sensitive. They withdraw warmth without warning, then act confused when your spirit feels the chill. They sow seeds of doubt between you and other streams, isolating you slowly, until the only source of water you have left is the one they pour for you. And if you ever start to pull your energy away, they often respond not with reflection, but with escalation, showering you with the light you crave one moment, plunging you into cold shadow the next. This is not a random emotional tide. It is a cycle, a rhythm designed to keep you off balance, to keep you apologizing, to keep you chasing the reflection you saw at the beginning, the one that made you feel special, safe, chosen. But that reflection was never a person, it was bait. In this atmosphere of controlled chaos, your own inner knowing begins to die. You stop trusting your own current. You stop speaking your own truth. You become smaller, quieter, easier to manage. And the hollow self, now firmly in control, stands calmly at the center of the storm they created, pretending to be the lighthouse that will save you from a confusion they themselves designed. This is the cruelty of this particular path. It doesn't break your spirit all at once. It guides you to break your own spirit, piece by piece, thought by thought, until you forget the river you were before the storm began. The hollow self does not seek love. It seeks admiration. More specifically, it seeks supply, a steady stream of attention, validation, praise, and compliance that feeds its emptiness like air feeds a fire. They may use the words of love. They may perform the gestures of affection, but these are transactions. They are not offerings of care. They are investments designed to secure a return your devotion, your gaze, your energetic dependence. In the beginning, this can feel like the brightest sun. Hollow selves know how to pour admiration when it serves them. They will make you feel like the center of the universe, not because they see you, but because your admiration for them confirms their fragile image of themselves. As long as you play your part, as long as your energy remains focused on them, constant and unquestioning, they will reward you. They may even place you on a pedestal, showering you with attention, but this cannot be sustained. The moment you express your own needs, create your own boundaries, or simply turn your light elsewhere, the mask of warmth begins to cool. What follows is a withdrawal so cold, it can feel like a shock to the spirit. They become distant, easily angered, even cruel. And when you reach out, seeking to understand the change, they act burdened by your very feelings, as if your simple need for connection is an impossible weight. This is the great paradox. They demand your unwavering admiration, yet offer none in return. They feed on praise, yet starve you of it. Your kind words become an expectation, their silence becomes a weapon, and your pain becomes something they can use. This dynamic creates a lopsided flow where your energy constantly pours out and theirs is taken in. You start to work harder to please them, to earn back the light they once gave so freely. You compromise your needs. You silence your truth. You make yourself smaller, more agreeable, all in the hope of receiving the crumbs of approval that once felt like a feast. But the feast never returns, because once the hollow self feels they have secured your devotion, they no longer see the need to pretend there is balance. They have already won. This deprivation is a tool. By withholding warmth, they deepen your hunger for it. They want you thirsty for their attention. They want you chasing the reflection that once made you feel alive. That way, they remain the source. It is a cycle of reward and punishment, of intermittent light that mirrors the path of addiction. You never know when the next kind word will come, so you cling to the hope that it might, but it rarely does. Because to them, your value is not in who you are, it is in what you provide to their emptiness. Once that purpose fades, so does their warmth, and in its place is a cold indifference that leaves you wondering if you were ever truly seen or simply used. There is one thing the hollow self fears more than being left, more than failing, more than being abandoned, and that is being seen. Beneath their performance of strength lies a deep, knowing insecurity they are determined to keep hidden. Every story they tell, every current they manipulate, every mask of charm they wear serves one central purpose: to protect the fragile, construct itself from being seen for what it truly is: a hollow space, an insecure void, a deep and secret shame. To maintain this illusion of fullness, the hollow self is always performing. In the open world, they present a polished image, centered, successful, even humble if it serves the story. They work to cultivate admiration. But behind closed doors, the story changes. When no one who matters to their image is watching, their energy becomes erratic, cold, and controlling. They turn on those closest to them, not because those people are less worthy, but because they are witnesses. And a witness is a threat. Anyone who sees behind the mask, who begins to connect the public light with the private shadow, becomes a danger. At first, the hollow self may try to bring them back into the fold with more manipulation, apologies filled with self-pity, promises to change, fleeting moments of warmth. But if that fails, they change tactics. They push outward. They lie. They smear your name. They spin a new story where they are the one who was wronged, and you are the unstable one, the ungrateful one, the one who caused the pain. It is spiritual warfare, and they are relentless. This fear of being seen drives them to preemptively discredit anyone who might challenge their story. Former partners, friends, even family members who step outside the performance are labeled as toxic or mad. They will isolate you, planting seeds of doubt in the minds of others, while they maintain their role as the calm, reasonable center. Their ability to maintain control depends on this dual reality. They must be admired in the light while they control the story in the dark. And the more you see, the more dangerous you become. They cannot tolerate true intimacy because intimacy risks being truly seen. Vulnerability, the bedrock of authentic connection, is terrifying to them. It requires honesty, and honesty could crack the porcelain image they have spent a lifetime defending. So instead of opening their heart, they deflect. Instead of admitting a fault, they blame. Instead of receiving criticism, they rage or retreat into stone like silence. Every reaction is a defense to keep the void hidden. The tragedy is that the hollow self is not just hiding from the world, they are hiding from themselves. But in doing so, they destroy the very connections that might bring them to a place of healing. Anyone who sees their true self becomes a liability, not a friend. And so the mask must be protected no matter the cost. Because for them, being seen does not just threaten their image, it threatens the entire illusion they have built for their survival. The most terrifying aspect of this shadow is not just its coldness, it's the silence that surrounds it. These patterns do not exist in isolation. They persist because they are hidden, unspoken, and ignored. People do not speak up, often because they cannot. They are too confused, too ashamed, or too spiritually exhausted to find the words. And that silence becomes the ground where these shadows grow. Because as long as no one names the energy, it thrives. It becomes normal, even justified. And the hollow self is left free to continue its cycle with a new face, a new friend, a new stage. This silence is not an accident. It is often created by the hollow self. They create a climate where speaking the truth feels dangerous. You fear you won't be believed. You fear being painted as unbalanced. You fear losing the relationships, the work, the family, or the social circle that surrounds the hollow self's carefully built image. They manipulate others to stay quiet, to doubt their own instincts, to question their own experience. When that happens, the hollow self does not just win control, they erase what is real. And once your own reality has been rewritten for you, you become easier to manage, easier to set aside, easier to forget. But the damage does not stop there. This silence ripples outward. Children raised in these shadows learn to quiet their own spirits, to keep the peace. Partners learn to endure mistreatment, mistaking control for love. Friends, colleagues, and communities look away because seeing the truth is too uncomfortable, too disruptive. And so the pattern continues, not because no one sees it, but because no one speaks it. Breaking that silence is the first act of reclaiming your spirit. It is also the first step toward healing. To name what you have felt, the manipulation of truth, the twisting of reality, the withholding of warmth, the quiet cruelty, gives form to what felt like an invisible ghost. It reclaims energy from the one who took it, and it sends a message: I see. I will not be quiet. I will not carry your secrets any longer. Shadows do not exist because they are powerful. They exist because we let them hide. The most insidious are not those who shout, but those who smile, who charm, who lie, who mask their emptiness with charisma. They depend on the silence of others to keep their image intact. They fear being seen because being seen is their undoing. If you have witnessed these patterns in another, or even more bravely in yourself, the time to speak your truth is now. Not with vengeance, but with clarity. Because truth disrupts the illusion. It cracks the facade. It forces what was hidden into the light. And in that light, the power of the hollow self begins to dissolve. Silence allows the shadow to walk free. To speak your truth is not just survival. It is resistance. It is clarity. And above all, it is freedom.